Welcome to Dominate Your Day. I'm thrilled today to have Deb Coviello. I hope I pronounced that right, Deb. It's
Deb
like
Coviello, I'll still respond.
Coviello. Yeah, it's interesting. Lots of vowels there, right? And lots to explain. But we're thrilled to have you here. I'd like for you to share with the audience. You have a really unique branding. It's called the Drop-In CEO. Tell us where that came from, how you ended up naming yourself that and branding yourself that.
Oh, well, thank you, Dana, so much for the opportunity just to talk to you, share a bit about my background. Again, the journey's been long, but I'll try to be short. I have enjoyed a 35 year plus corporate career. I started out life as very much of a creative person, but somewhere along the way went into manufacturing, engineering. It paid well, it made sense at the time. And so I cut my tooth on manufacturing. I've been in the electronics industry, chemical industry, and really in the area of quality and operational excellence. I love problem solving and how could I fix things and make things better, faster, cheaper. Well, fast forward along the way, as you can hear, I can kind of communicate well. That helped my leadership persona come forward. So I started rising from just being a quality engineer to being a manager, ultimately to my dream job being the head of operational excellence and quality for North America for a global flavor company. And I thought I had arrived. And yes, I did. And yes, I did the great work with the people around me, but I also had some challenges. Along the way, I realized I got to a point where I exceeded my capacity, my capability to do the work. And there's so much I want to share with your audience about how my leadership style evolved in that process. I started learning more about myself and who I wanted to be. But what wound up happening at the end is they said, we're going to part ways, and they did it in the most respectful way. And while I went through the cycle of grief and what did I do wrong, I realized I was given a gift. And with that gift, I knew I didn't want to go back to corporate. I wanted to truly use my value in being able to drop into situations, which I was doing a lot of. We had acquired smaller companies or business units, and when I dropped in to solve a problem or bring them into the fold, I started connecting with humans and realizing their potential. And really, they were the most important piece of the puzzle before the technical solutions or problem solving. So, fast forward, I knew I wanted to work with small and medium sized companies because I love their culture, love their people, and their agility and the ability to be able to help them on two fronts. One was technical issues in quality, operations, manufacturing, but also the leadership dimension, because you can fix a business problem, but unless you coach up to the leader, they might need to behave differently or build up the confidence or skills of the people. You're never going to be able to leave your legacy and sustain the gains. So I realized that was my value. But in the process of starting that entrepreneurial journey, I had to network. I had to meet people. I started guesting on podcasts. And one of them, the 2 Minute Podcast, they interviewed me and said, Deb, what do you do? And I said, well, I do this, I do that. I'm kind of like the drop-in CEO. I drop into businesses, partner with the C-suite leaders, solve the issue, and then build up the confidence of the team. And then you pull me out because you no longer need me. And when the show was over, he says, Deb, drop-in CEO, where did you get that? And I said, I don't know. It just came out of my mouth. And with that, he said that was brilliant. And I said, like, what? What is it about the drop-in CEO? But as I explored that, I realized, and there's a story to go along with that, that was the way I operated, not necessarily being the CEO of the company, but with that CEO mindset, dropping in, assessing the landscape, seeing the bigger picture for what needs to be fixed now and that to sustain. That became my brand. That was the key to being able to differentiate myself, stepping into the entrepreneurial space, not just as a consultant or fractional leader, not just as a coach, but the drop-in CEO became who I was, made me interesting, and I think has been key to being able to build the trust of clients and differentiate myself. So I'll pause there. There's a lot
Yeah,
in there, but
there
that's a
is a
bit
lot.
about me and how I've come to arrive here.
Yeah, I want to talk. You said some pretty interesting things in your story.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about the beginning, how you were always creative, and then
Yeah.
you kind of got into this operational
Yeah.
mode, and then you
Yeah.
got into your dream job, but then you realized that just something was missing. One of the things we talk a lot about here is just the internal revolution of who you are.
Yes.
And how do you live that authentic self every day? And when we start feeling that off, something's off, I don't know why, it's because we're performing and not being. We're not being our typical who we were created to be. So I loved it when you said it was a gift they gave you because you got to really go explore your true self and come out with that.
And, to add to that, thank you for realizing that, is that a lot of people who then reconnected with me after I left corporate, they says, Deb, we can't believe how you reinvented yourself, because I wasn't necessarily performing as that engineer and that technical leader that was trying to solve problems and give report outs to stakeholders. I was a completely different persona, even though I still did the same work. And they said, how do you reinvent yourself? And I said, I don't know if I've reinvented myself. I said, to your point, I think I returned to who I once was as a creative and possibility and imagination and thinking possibilities, because I love to create. I love to cook. I love to crochet. I love to write. I love to speak. I love to write a book. All of that is my creativity. But again, societal norms, I need to do something with that. So I cut my teeth, built those skills about organization and problem solving. But sometimes the problem along the way is then we're celebrated for that. And that's how we're rewarded, because of these other skills. And over the time, you kind of lose who you were. And I will say, at the end of corporate, I told my husband, I said, something doesn't feel right. Something's got to change. I couldn't calm myself down. I wasn't happy. And again, getting kicked out of the nest was a gift, because I could breathe again, rediscover who I was, still do the great technical work, but show up as we are today.
I love that you felt that and you were able to say something's not right.
Yeah.
Because we kind of know when things aren't feeling right, but we're thinking, well, I'm supposed to be doing this, and this is my title, and this is my identity. But then really, it's not about any of that. It's about who you are on the inside out and how to get that out, that authentic self. So who did you have in your path with you? You mentioned your husband. You were able, did you have a coach? Did you have a mentor? Who were the people that kind of you put around? We talk about putting a virtual table around us of people that guide us as we're making some big transitions. What did you do to help yourself through that?
Well, first step, and I write about this in the book, is that we have to have the courage to ask for help through these times of transition and trying to figure out what's our value and how we will serve as an entrepreneur, is understanding what your expertise is, your value, and where are you not. Part of it is technical. So along the way through podcasting, I interviewed a lot of people, and I found a branding coach. I found a image coach. I found people, video, helping me with podcasting. So I found technical people. But along the way in networking, I found somebody who just said, Deb, I love what you're doing, and I just want to see you succeed. So I've got a mentor. And then several years forward, I'm doing all the stuff. I'm doing the marketing. I'm doing the sales. I'm doing the operations and delivering. I said, but I'm still not getting the results. So a couple years back, I realized I think I need a mindset coach. Am I just, overachieving, but not focusing on the right things? Do I get frustrated when things are outside of my control, when really I should focus on what is in my control? So I've had about 2 or 3 coaches that have helped me through certain junctures to shift the mindset a little bit and be able to move forward again. Again, I wasn't broken, but subtle changes and getting that coaching support can give you that opportunity to share and then discover and then think about what action you're going to take and accountability. It has all been worth it, and I would advocate that for anybody.
I think that's great. And I think it's when you said on that podcast just randomly, I'm the drop-in CEO, that was all coming from your unique self.
The soul.
And when we're operating from that authentic self, then it's like freedom, right? It's like, I don't have to work hard at this. It just comes. And it's a powerful tool to be yourself. But the mindset is so important. And I think, you say, go start your own business and you'll learn a lot about yourself. So what have been the lessons that you've learned about mindset, and how have you helped manage those as you've gotten through? I know I have to work on my mindset a lot every day. What are what are the things that you've learned that have helped you on this journey?
There's 2 major areas where I've had 2 separate coaches. One was her focus was differentiating between being a high achiever and a high performer. And the difference between, and again, how I was celebrate was being a high achiever. How many things could I cross off my list and add more, especially as a mother, as a person who worked in the community and a career and a partner, the whole bit.
Yeah,
We are
that's a lot.
celebrated for doing more. And that wound, and you can, but then you lose yourself in the process. So then we realize, what is it that gives me joy? Where do I want to invest more in my well-being, my community? What are non-negotiables? All of that to shift away from validating myself for the high achieving, and am I balanced and am I performing in all aspects of my life? So that was a major aha for me, which we continually have to recommit to that. Going to the gym, shutting the laptop down at 5 o'clock, all of that stuff, because at the end of the day, it's what people remember about you: connecting with your community, time with family and spouse, etc. So, and even if we go back to that high achieving, forgive ourselves. Let's just recommit to ourselves. The second thing was, recently I was very frustrated when clients, and also a particular situation, a contract role, I was so frustrated. I was so angry. I don't like doing that kind of work, but it pays good money. I was really, really struggling, angry with a situation. And I realized I had a very negative mindset. So this mindset coach worked closely with me about changing the words, changing the language. How could we reposition what is a negative thought? And also there's an element of what is and isn't in our control, to something that's neutral. And just let that sit with you, to something that's positive. Now, I'll give a quick note. I was very upset with a particular contract role that paid good money, but it enabled me to continue to build my business. What we did is we changed it. We changed the dynamic to, thank goodness I have that contract role. Thank goodness I have that opportunity, that gift, because financially it is allowing me to be my authentic self, to be that creative, to show up on podcasts, meet new people, and show up for the clients that I do give. And so not be frustrated that, oh, I should be at a certain place and I should be totally sustainable and recapture my corporate career. But just know I'm doing this good work, and change the words that we use. Because when we change the words and how we think, it does change your behavior. And I'm not as stressed anymore. It's there for a
Absolutely.
reason.
Absolutely. I think mindset, that is so powerful. I think I've had a coach for 3 years, and she talks a lot about mindset. And I think it's made me realize that, it's being in the present moment, and it's feeling what we feel in the present moment. Oh, I'm frustrated, being able to call out that feeling. But then if we talk about strengths, if you know your strengths, you have high achiever. I can tell it. You've talked about it. You talked about checking off those lists, turning down the achiever, turning up something else that you can put on yourself to help get you through that emotional recognition moment of this is life, and this is, being in the present moment. So it is a growth journey
Yeah, and
too.
a little reward. I spoke to one of my adult children, and we were just catching up, and he said something to me after I was catching up. I said, "Mom, you sound really good. You sound kind of at peace." And I would say, an external person to hear that in my voice and recognize something's shifted was really validating to me, because I also, like, here's a milestone. I have another adult child that lives in North Carolina, and I just went out there to visit he and his wife. I didn't bring the laptop. And every time I travel, I always bring the laptop. I can check email on my phone, but I was so present. We just watched TV. We just walked around a little village. I was so present for them. And I realized, as I get a little bit older, and if they have kids, I want to be able to have the bandwidth, the energy, and the desire to just be with my family or be with my community. It meant I need to back off and forgive myself. I don't have to check everything off the box. I'm good enough. I'm serving. I'm already perceived as a high achiever. I don't have to keep pushing more and more and more. So another learning. Yeah.
And it's interesting because the things that you're learning about yourself now, you're able to help these other CEOs, as you're helping them, right? As you're dropping in and helping them, whether it's male or female, because I think everybody struggles with so much of these same issues. And I think it's learning to recognize and help come alongside and say, I've been there. I'm doing it. I'm doing the work. I'm asking you to do.
It's very lonely, and it's not just a CEO that I'll partner with, but maybe it's a COO, Chief Operations Officer, VP of Ops. They're all in those high-profile seats. And I don't know what it is. Either I'm a really good listener or maybe my voice is soothing and I'm not inside the organization. They often find that they share these insights. That, they feel like they should be capable of doing certain things. Maybe they've never been asked to do certain things. Just having a person to listen, to talk through, and then just share back what they heard. Again, that's the value of coaching or getting an external perspective. I do that a lot for C-suite leaders, and sometimes just one session with me, even though I'm trying to also pursue potential business partnerships with them.
Right.
For me, it's so rewarding because when I can reframe and they're seen and heard, you see the light bulb go on, the twinkle in their eyes, they calm down a little bit. And again, we should be all doing that as part of connecting with humanity, is just recognizing people for their value, elevating to them what their true gifts are. And in the process, you might develop a personal relationship or a business relationship. But great listening, providing insights, again, that work you do, so valuable.
It's kind of like I always say, I want to work with people that I would love to sit around the campfire with
Yeah.
and just talk about life. And
Yeah.
I love how you have a program. It looks like that you called Lift, Light, and Lead. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about that?
Yeah, so thank you. For anybody that's going through a transition into entrepreneurship, it's so important to reflect a little bit about who you are, what do you stand for, what are some words that just keep coming out of your mouth or you're thinking. And I remember when I had my first consulting gig underneath another consultant, back in the day, LinkedIn, all of social media, you need to have 3 buzzwords that describe who you are, and they've got to start with the same letter. And on the back of a napkin, and I still have a picture of that napkin, I use the words lift, light, and lead. And at the essence, I never really used it as part of a marketing campaign, but I worked with a branding coach. He says, Deb, beautiful, let's bring that forward. Lift. The greatest gift we can give to people is just going into organizations and lift them up. And we do that by hearing, listening, and seeing their gifts and shining a light on those gifts that maybe they can't see anymore. And through that process and that coaching, technical or from a mindset, we enable them to lead stronger than before, because ultimately we want to leave a legacy, which would be the 4th L. So lift them up by shining a light on their gifts so they can lead in a better way and leave a lasting impact. That's where it came from.
And I love your voice. You are very calm. Have you always had this calm voice? Is this something that came out through this transformation when you became a coach to CEOs, or is it just something that you're just been with you?
So here's the thing. I didn't listen to the cues early on. I mean, I didn't always have an alto kind of voice. But later in my corporate career, I had somebody come up to me and he said, Deb, your voice is so calming. You're able to listen to all the chaos that was going on. And somehow when you then spoke and reframed what the problem is, it had a very calming effect. And so I was starting to get cues that this was a gift that I had, not only in its tone, but also my ability to pick the perfect words to be able to explain a situation that kind of cuts through the noise. And so the funny thing is that over the last 5 or 6 years since I've been an entrepreneur, I've been focusing on business, dropping into businesses and doing consulting and all of that. And every time I show up on a phone call, somebody new, Deb, your voice. You got this NPR kind of voice. You've got this radio voice. And it was one of those things I was like, oh yeah, gee, shucks, thank you. Great. But it's a power to either to connect with humanity. So of course I want to do more speaking, more podcasting. But potentially, and this is another thing for entrepreneurs, we may think we do this because this is what we've always trained to do. And I often think, and I'm starting to explore the area of media, because while I can keep doing consulting, and I'm good at it, my voice, the ability to connect with people with my voice and leave that impact, maybe that's my greater purpose. Share my thought leadership on stages, impact one person, inspire them to do something different. I am not proclaiming to be a Tony Robbins, but I'm going to be Deb Coviello on a stage. But guess what? Here's the thing. I keep saying I'm shooting for that big stage. My mindset coach said, Deb, you're not enjoying today. And just me, you and I, Dana, on this small stage, we are connecting with an audience. And so I had to recognize the gift of I'm already using my voice on a stage. So the voice took me a while to recognize it really helps to connect with people, their minds, their hearts, their souls.
Well, and it says to what you say in your copy of that you're a superpower lowering the temperature. And so when I look at people living their authenticity every day, I see that and it's like, oh, I have this voice that I can really use now. I hear that in your story. And so I want to encourage you as you think about that and how you can use that even more so, because it's all over the words you're saying. It's all over. And so many people that, I've had on this podcast or just listen to or coach, and they're not aware of their external, what's coming out externally, but it's all from your heart, right? It's all from inside.
It is. I
So,
so in flow when I speak and share. It's just, I'm in the
yeah.
moment.
So that brings me to your book, which is the CEO's Compass, your guide to get back on track, right? So
Yeah.
tell us about that. How did that come about?
So, thank you for asking. The CEO's compass wasn't always a compass. As I was starting to explore my thought leadership when I was an entrepreneur, I realized that leaders have a particular playbook and they use it over and over again, regardless of the situation. But I saw time and time again, especially in myself, that sometimes we look outside a window and we think, how are we going to get through this day, which are the first few words in my chapter, that sometimes we get to a place where we've been highly successful, but then we lose our way and we lose our confidence, and can we survive another day? And I realized that while we can fix people, we can fix process, we can fix platforms, throw money at anything to solve a problem, that's how we're celebrated, that's how we're promoted. But I found that through my time in corporate of visiting smaller plants and helping to learn what was about their past and what made them proud of what they do, ultimately all these P words started coming together for me. And so the CEO's compass, again, it used to be a house. Then I said, well, CEO might want a compass, not a house. The northernmost compass point in my book is peace of mind. And that goes from always looking for results, but ultimately we want to achieve peace of mind, which became your North Star. And then I just started putting my thought leadership, and yes, people, process, platforms are all there. Got to have a well-defined purpose. You have to have performance, but not in the context that we're used to of sales, of reducing costs, but the performance of your people to achieve the purpose. And then lastly, I just spoke about it, was past and pride. What was it about people's past that we need to celebrate that made them so wonderful that they came into your ecosystem? And then the pride. What are the unique gifts or their accomplishments? Because while you may not need it now, just spending time understanding their past and their pride, you build trust. And really, once you build trust and you bring people in the fold and you're there to remove barriers, ultimately, little by little, if you're off track, you use the compass, you choose your own adventure, you ultimately get to peace of mind. And now, what is peace of mind? There's a lot of stories around what that means. It's unique for everybody. But that's why I had to write the book, because I see C-suite leaders lost a lot. And I'm here to help them reflect a little bit, but then consider a compass or a different playbook to get them back on track.
I love that. And I think you and I speak so much on the same bandwidth about, stop chasing results, stop performing,
Yeah.
just be you and the results will come. And like looking at your voice and using your voice in a way that you can help, not only affect one or two, but thousands by being visible with your voice and they're showing difference. So when you look at the content that you created for these CEOs at that time and where you are now, that was 2021, 22,
Yeah.
around that time.
21.
And here we are, 2025. It's been an interesting journey, hasn't it, since COVID, to watch the workplace and see what's going on in the workplace. And we had quiet quitting, we had all kinds of things going on. And now we're in this kind of trust mindset area of who do I trust, who can I be, who do I lean on, and a lot of that going on at this point. I mean, Gallup even says we're at this time where, seven out of nine people are suffering at work with their well-being. A lot of that is because they're not being their authentic self. They're trying to be something that somebody wants them to be or that they thought they needed to be. And so there's a lot of self-exploration going on. What are you seeing right now in the C-suite that is unique and different? And what have you observed?
So, a few things, and thank you for bringing up the COVID topic, quiet quitting, and all of that. What I think that happened is, yes, it did change the dynamics of employer employee relationships. But what I do find is it uncovered what was under the tip of the iceberg, because people didn't all of a sudden realize that they weren't in the best mindset and they weren't in the best of health. The dynamics changed. People were able to get out from under being in that environment, and it just revealed itself. And so it was already simmering below the level there. So CEOs now realize that they have to work in a different way. Employees have a little bit more control over the situation. But getting to the C-suite, a few things that I have seen, maybe they haven't changed, is that I still see that they don't have the courage to ask for help, because they think, well, I can still achieve. I will work with the current resources. I will continue to drive to get the results. And to your point, people are saying, no, I'm done. And they leave. And then the corporation starts crumbling from the bottom because leaders haven't changed their way. So I would say that they haven't changed. But little by little, I'm starting to see that they're having a self-awareness that I can't use the same playbook anymore. And that is my message out there. I really want to get this out there. Again, as entrepreneurs out there, if there's any coaches in your audience, et cetera, as you work with people, we do have to change. We cannot continue to drive people to get results, get away from that activity, get more into performance. And I'm advocating to people out there, please ask for help, whether it's coaching help for that C-suite person, or bring me in and drop in and solve a real issue. Have the courage to ask for help. Asking for help is a strength, because you being you in the past of being able to get the results, be resourceful, drive and work harder was what was your success, and it is also your demise. I feel very strongly about that now your superpower is starting to hurt you. And so we need to develop new skills to be able to look around. Do I have the confidence, the capability, and the capacity to do the work? And also look at your people. And what do we need to do to support our people to unleash their potential? Do we need to bring somebody in to coach them, to help them, to develop new skills, etc.? We need to invest in people as a strategic line item in order to be able to lift them up and allow them to lead and do their jobs. We hire great people. We don't want to send them on the outside because we haven't invested in them. So I don't think they've changed, but I think we're potentially in an era where they have a heightened awareness that they need to do something different.
That's a good point. Yeah, I love that. And I think we still have 5 generations in the workplace, and they all need something different. And a CEO, leaders kind of overseeing all of those different generations and making sure that, as being aware, a good leader is kind of aware of all the different needs from the different people in their purview.
Yeah.
What are you finding?
Well, one thing is I've got a client right now, and I'm an email kind of person. And what I realized was some of the people in this new client engagement, a very young, talented person that I have to work with, might not be able to type fast, might not be good with grammar. And I notice they much prefer texting. So I, being the person that I can't type with my thumbs on a phone, I use voice dictation, but I have found that everybody has a gift. But we have to learn how to work across the generations. So this generation, I am voice dictating text messages all the time because they respond to that, versus email may not be their area of expertise. And then the C-suite leader, again, they may not reach out to me, but I have to be the person to pull them in because they may not know to talk to me. So anyway, I think the key note here is that whenever you go into a workplace and situation, please don't use your cookie cutter 5-step process to be able to move them forward. Please assess the skills, capabilities, and gifts of the people. And you need to be a chameleon and change your way.
That's right. There's so much talent out there, and every generation, every unique person has something to give. It's just finding that channel. Yeah. And that's why I like strengths, because I can use that to help figure out what they need. But as we look at the end of we're like 4 months in to the end of the year. Can't believe it. It's just crazy. What do you see for 2026, and where are you going to be focused as you continue to serve CEOs and leaders in the workplace?
So this is an interesting topic, and I would like to answer it in the context of feedback. Feedback that's done in the right way. We should tell people what they should continue to do because it's working. What might they start doing to enhance what they're doing to get a different outcome, and what might they want to change? And when I think about myself for 2026, I'm going to continue to connect with people because I find when I allow myself to show up as my authentic self, shine a light on them first. Again, thank you, Dana, for giving me the opportunity for this great
Sure.
forum here. Continue to connect, and try to provide value to people. That I'm going to continue. And to entrepreneurs out there, if you've never established a really good network, connect and try to find your people that really value what you do and you can serve. What I'm going to start doing, though, is I am doing more speaking, guesting on more
Great.
shows because I want to connect with more people. And I invite anybody in your audience, if you want to connect with me, please do. And what am I going to change?
Yeah.
I'm starting to peel away stuff that doesn't provide value. I may love it, may have loved it at one point. I may have been good at it, but I'm stripping away some of the volunteer work. And so when I go into organizations now and moving forward, I look at what do we need to do now? What is non-value added stuff? Can we push stuff aside and only focus on those things that are going to move the needle? Because I find people are too distracted, too dispersed, and I have a way of calming people. Let's just focus on this and move forward and get it done. And let's move forward on this. That's my strength. I'll continue to do that. And again, to leaders out there, don't wait until you're in crisis. When you start getting those funny feelings in your stomach that things aren't right, like I did, have the courage just to get an external perspective. It might save you a lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah, I'm hearing some great things as I summarize and listen to your talk, but really about listening to yourself and your mindset. When things are right, they're probably not right. Get some your big message of ask for help
Yeah.
is there, and then also being able to analyze the leader, the entrepreneur you were last year is going to be different. You're going to need some different things for next year, and the next year because we're always evolving and changing and getting better, and so I think for leaders out there too, I think that's a great message of asking for help, but being ready. What worked last year isn't going to work next year, in some
Agreed.
cases.
Yeah, again, even I'm changing things up. I'm, slowing work with one coach and ramping up another one to serve me because I'm now going to be putting out intermediate offers. I'm going to have a speaker page. I just had a videographer film me while I was at a speaking event. So I'm constantly evolving, trying new things. Have the courage to self-discover and try new things. It's not that you're broken or you did anything wrong. You have an opportunity to just be yourself and try new things constantly.
That's great. So Deb, as we round out, is there anything I didn't ask you that's on your mind right now that's coming up that you want to make sure this audience hears? Anything that you feel in this space and time that you want to make sure they hear? And it could be just, how to get a hold of you, where the opportunities are, and to get your resources, your books, etc. I think you have a free gift as well.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Dana, for the opportunity. And to the audience, I really hope that some of our conversation really resonated with you. A thought that goes along with my tagline, I drop in, partner with C-suite leaders to navigate challenges with confidence. The other thing that I talk about is, well, why? Why do I do that? Because I want you to struggle less and spend more time with yourself, with your family, with your friends, and your community. Because we have a short life here and life is not guaranteed. So think about what you're doing now and then what might life look like, because we shouldn't be struggling as much. That's what I want to leave my final note with you, and I would love to connect with everybody. The best way to contact me is at my website, dropinceo.com, dropinceo.com, but also /gift. You can go to my website, and when you go there, you'll be able to get a free chapter of my book, The CEO's Compass, both in PDF and audio form, as well as a 3-pack of some of my favorite podcast episodes around leadership. That's my gift to you, and I would love to see you visit, and maybe we can connect sometime.
That's great. Deb, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your story, and thank you for the work you're doing in the workplace and dropping in and helping these amazing people have a safe space to listen to somebody listen to them and to guide them. So thank you for that. And we wish you the best as you continue to grow and as we all change and get ready for the next year. But I'm excited that you have given us so much gold today. So thank you for being here, and we wish you the best.
Thank you, Dana.
Mm-hmm.